What's good, everybody? Is when I come back at another video. So this video is going to be a very interesting video, and it's going to be different because the title of this video is something. It's definitely an interesting one, right? I'll tell you that much. So I've been eager to record this video to address this topic right here, right? The title of this video is this: Get so rich that they can't buy you. Now, when I'm referring to rich, I'm referring to you being rich internally, rich in spirit, rich in just you yourself as a person. Because when you are rich and full of life and true to yourself, that is when you can't be purchased by other people. Because oftentimes, many people who are extremely desperate are willing to compromise themselves, compromise who they are, compromise their integrity, the components that make themselves who they are. They're willing to compromise that in exchange for monetary riches, right? You hear it all the time, whether true or not, right? I've never been there, so I don't know, right? But you hear all the time here in the United States, in Hollywood, right? The music industry, the movie industry, the entertainment industry, whatever it is. You hear all the times of people who would sell their souls in exchange for monetary gain, in exchange for fame, in exchange for, to have their music played everywhere in all the stations, right? For a career, right? You hear all the time that people will go extreme measures to sacrifice whatever or compromise whatever in exchange for finances, for material wealth. But you need to understand that material wealth is not worth more than you. A lot of these people who are willing to compromise themselves or sell their soul, in many cases, they end up going crazy or losing themselves of who they've been this entire time, because the sacrifice that they made, they can no longer be themselves or live how they used to, right? The innocence in them is gone. And what you need to remember is money is not worth more than you, right? It's not. And the simple explanation is this. First and foremost, what you need to understand about money, like let's just use this dollar bill. The reason why this dollar bill is able to exist in society and function is because we as a people have all agreed and accepted that this can be used as a form of payment, right? It has it written, right? It has written on the dollar bill. It says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. So it is because we as a country and we as a people all accepted this bill as a form of payment. This dollar bill that you see here didn't exist 1,000 years ago, right? There was probably coins back then. And then prior to coins, there was just a standard trading system. Like we would just trade goods, products, or services, right? Let's just say, for example, back then, I'm the guy who had all the salt, right? But in some cases, I needed meat from the butcher. So I would go to the butcher and say, hey, for this slab of meat, I'll give you this amount of salt. And we would trade. However, that was a rather inefficient way to operate, because then if you needed to trade a lot, right, you might have needed middleman, or the system, of course, back then was a lot more complicated. So that's when the government or the country decided, hey, let's create a universal form of currency that everyone can agree upon can be used as a form of payment. The reason why the dollar bill holds is because we all agree that it can be used as a form of payment. But if everyone decided to wake up tomorrow and all come to terms and no longer accept this as a form of payment, this piece of paper would no longer exist. Now, there might be, another form of currency to take its place, right? Of course. However, currencies only function because we're all in agreement that it does, right? It's sort of kind of strange, but it's just we're all on the board, unanimous agreement. Like, okay, we'll just use this. Like, if it's Monopoly, right? The paper money is like, okay, when we play Monopoly, the paper money that we used to play Monopoly, we're accepting that is what we use as a form of payment in Monopoly, right? Same if you're playing poker, right? Poker, you're using the poker chips, right? It's because everyone on the table accepts that the poker chips represents a form of payment when you play. So most people will be willing to compromise themselves and who they are and their lives for a piece of paper. And yes, of course, a piece of paper can act as a form of payment, but it's not more important than you. And the reason is this: because if anything happens to this piece of paper, if it burns, if it gets lost, whatever, it can always be more of this money can always be printed, right? There's always going to be new money being printed to be put into circulation. So this doesn't actually really have value, right? It's just we accept it to have value. But this piece of paper is not worth more than you. And the reason for this is very simple, right? You yourself are one of one. You are unique. You, out of the trillions, billions and trillions of people who've lived back then, and the billions and trillions that will exist way past you, right? There will never ever be a one-to-one copy of you. There's, even if you're a twin, right? There's gonna be differences between you and that twin, even if you guys look alike, right? You're always going to be one of one. You have a unique perspective. And if God, if the universe, if the creator wanted us to all be the same, they would have done that. We would have just all looked the same, and then we wouldn't have the ability to think or have an imagination. We would just be just regular creatures operating from instinct. But we're not, right? We have the ability to think for ourselves. We have the ability to use imagination to create anything and everything. So even if you look at money, even if you look at that super nice $10 million mansion, if anything were to happen to that mansion, guess what? There's a blueprint that exists. That mansion can always be rebuilt and recreated. If anything happens to you, the same can't be said, right? You're one of one. So that makes you the most valuable thing on the planet. It doesn't matter if humans went and mined up all the diamonds that existed in Earth, right? A diamond, regardless of the size, is still a diamond. Like, diamonds are diamonds. But it doesn't matter if you have a diamond that's super small or a diamond that's super big. Diamonds are diamonds, right? Like, it's still just a diamond. Like, you can always find another diamond. Doesn't matter, right? It's just a mineral, it's just a rock. You yourself, you're one of one. So you need to see yourself as that. You need to see yourself as deserving of it all. You have the ability with your mind and your imagination to create something that the world has never seen before, that can really move the world in the right direction, because you operate from your own unique perspective that's different from everyone else, right? What you need to remember is this, and I'm going to explain this as best as I can, right? As far as understanding material wealth, because material wealth comes from within, right? Wealth creation begins from the inside out. And the reason for this is simple. If you look at your surrounding environment, right? Everything you see, with the exception of nature, was created in the mind of man. Someone decided to create a notebook, right? Like, someone had a vision of creating a notebook, and so someone made it happen. Someone had the vision to create a pen, and they made it happen. Someone envisioned creating a computer, a wallet, a pair of glasses. Now, of course, glasses are used by so many people in the world, right? So you have that. Even someone thought of making hand sanitizer, and of course, hand sanitizer ended up being extremely in high demand during the pandemic, right? So all of these objects and things that you see created, of course, created wealth for a lot of people, for a lot of human beings, for a lot of families. And these all started as ideas. And where did ideas come from? From your mind, from your imagination. So wealth creation begins from within. Financial riches in the external world begins from the inside. It begins internally. And so you need to begin feeling wealth inside of you, feeling your best, because you know that you always have your best ideas when you're feeling good. When you're feeling amazing, when you're feeling your best, that is when your best ideas come. When you begin to feel wealthy on the inside, which means feeling whole, feeling complete, feeling secure, feeling capable, believing in your gifts and your abilities, right? When you begin feeling that inside of you, when you begin feeling valuable, right, by investing in yourself, by learning about yourself, by growing, by improving, you begin feeling wealthy inside of yourself. That's when you get your best ideas to create things in the outer world, and that is how you create wealth, right? Wealth is nothing more than providing value to other people, solving their problems, or providing them with happiness, or improving the quality of life, which is going to make them happier, right? Like, every object that you see, even this watch right here, right? Someone had a vision to create a watch, and now people wear watches all around the world, and that's created so much financial wealth for people because they had an idea. So what you need to understand is wealth is created from within. So because you can never run out of ideas, because you can never run out of creativity, you have access to an infinite supply of wealth. You can constantly create. You always have the ability to create. You always have the ability to provide value to people, and you can always think of new ways to provide more value to people, to go above and beyond. So you yourself are an infinite fountain of ideas and creativity and effectively wealth, because it's the ideas, the thoughts you've had that created wealth. The people who compromise themselves or sell their souls for money, there's a reason why it's rather normal for them to basically, you know, lose their minds, because they've compromised themselves. They've traded themselves for something that's lesser, because finance, like physical wealth, material wealth, that's lesser than you. If anything happens to an expensive home or an expensive car or whatever it is, it can always be rebuilt. If a diamond gets lost, another diamond can always be mined, can always be found, right? Anything happens to you, we can't just copy and paste you, right? We can't do that, right? You operate from your own unique perspective, and there's so much, like, you have a combination of not only your own unique perspective, but a combination of different strengths that other people don't have, right? You are the most valuable creature because you are one of one. Even if you're alongside 8 billion people, right? See, people have been led to believe that they're insignificant, that they're not important, because they're just one of 8 billion people. But each and every person has their own strengths. Each and every person has their own blessings and their own gifts that they can offer to the world, right? So how is it possible that this piece of paper is ever worth more than you, when you can use your mind and your imagination to create something that will effectively create more of this, that will create more paper, more value in your life? This is what I mean when I say get so rich they can't buy you, because the people who are rich internally, rich in spirit, rich in knowledge and information, rich in imagination and creativity, these are the people that can't be purchased, because they understand that it is their creativity, it is their ideas, it is the value that they create and provide to other people that will ultimately create financial wealth and value, right? That it able to create financial wealth because they're able to create value. And so they can't be purchased because they understand that the money itself is the effect of what they've created. It's the effect. Money is the effect of who they are, of the value that they can provide, right? Because if you invest in yourself and you continue learning, growing, improving your knowledge, that is when you yourself become more valuable. So because you're more valuable in your own eyes and in the eyes of other people, you can provide value to them, which in return you'll receive this by effect. So this is what I mean when I say this. Get so rich that they can't buy you. Getting rich, you want it needs to be an internal state. You need to experience an internal state of wealth to then begin experiencing it in the outer world, right? Someone who believes in lack, someone who believes that they're powerless, someone who believes that there's no opportunities where they stand, that is the non-wealthy version of them, right? If you believe in all these things, then you're not gonna want to take action. Because you think it's a waste, that it's all useless. But if you believe that opportunities exist everywhere, if you believe that you can be, do, have anything, that you can go out, accomplish anything, that you can become anything you want, you can have anything, right? You're gonna be vibrating high. You're gonna be so happy, but you're gonna be confident. You're going to, you know that you're great, that you have so much to offer to the world, and so by effect this has to follow. So it's oftentimes the people who are very desperate for this piece of paper that ends up compromising themselves, and then they'll likely end up regretting it because they just didn't know, they didn't understand that wealth is created internally first. Just like how you see all of these objects, right? Like glasses, there's so many people around the world, billions of people use glasses, right? That began in the mind of someone, and then it was created, and then it was sold to other people. Hand sanitizer created in someone's mind and then sold to other people. Same with television, same with a computer, same with cars, same with refrigerators, same with t-shirts, clothing, right? Like whatever it is, this shirt that I'm wearing began in someone's mind first. First person to ever create a t-shirt, it began in his mind, then created the shirt, and then obviously clothes exist everywhere. So wealth creation begins from the inside. It's internal, right? You need to get internally rich first, and then becoming internally rich, that is when you'll begin to experience riches in the outer world. It all began with a thought. Basically what I'm getting at. So because you can think for yourself and continuously get ideas, you're going to be able to infinitely, like, it's unlimited supply, right, of ideas, unlimited supply of creativity, which means you have an unlimited supply of wealth and riches, because you are one idea away. Let me just put it that way. You are one idea away from success, or one idea away from riches. You're one. That's how it is, right? So when you are able to become rich internally, be rich in spirit, you realize that they can't buy you, because your money is never going to be worth more than you. Doesn't matter how much gets offered. You can't be purchased anymore. So that is the moral of the story right there. That is why I'm so passionate about personal development. That's why I show up each and every day putting out content for you guys, because I want you to understand these concepts. I want you to begin investing in yourself and being the best version of yourself, because this all makes sense, right? And previously, years ago, I was oblivious to all this information, but the more I learn, the more I continue growing, the more I'm able to connect the dots and piece things together that I previously was unaware about. And I want to record these videos to help you also understand and be able to do the same, right? So tying it all together, right? When I say get so rich that they can buy you, it's being rich internally, because when you understand that internal riches are what eventually leads to the external riches, is what eventually leads to new inventions, new creations, new things that the world has yet to see. And because you're your own unique perspective, because there's no one that's ever a one-to-one copy of you, you have so much gifts and blessings and ideas and creativity that you can offer that someone else can't. So this is why you need to see yourself, hold yourself high in your mind, and believe that you are deserving of it all. Believe that you are capable of it all, because you actually are, right? You've always only been one idea away from riches, from success, from greatness. And so hopefully this video inspires you to continue investing in yourself, because that is the best investment you can make. And if when you invest in yourself and you do become valuable, you will understand that you're worth more than this. There's no amount of money that can ever determine your wealth, because you can create infinite amount of this, unlimited. You have access to unlimited creativity and ideas. You can create infinite amount of this if you so choose, right? That's how it all works. So hopefully this has given you some motivation, inspiration, and hopefully you now look at yourself in a higher light, because you are above it all. You are worth more than all of these finances and all this money. So hopefully that helps you be at peace. Hopefully, and you're able to get so rich that no one will actually ever buy you in this lifetime. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe as we're on the road to a million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.